Hello, welcome to the Reign Series 3 video documentary series for episode 11, Assault. This is the first video documentary where I am wearing pajama pants because when I was editing this episode, I wore nothing but pajama pants for 2 weeks of editing this episode. And yeah, it was one heck of a comfortable edit, but also a very long edit. Episode 11 is by far the longest edit I have ever done. You'll notice that by the end of the episode with all the visual effects. It took forever to do. But anyway, let's talk about episode 11. So episode 11 is the beginning of the final arc for Reign Series 3. The final massive plot line for Series 3. The major final plot line for Series 3. So this is, I would say this is part 1 of the finale. There's 5 episodes left, including episode 11. And this just begins the end of the series, which is crazy that I'm doing a video documentary talking about the end of Series 3. I remember making so many videos on YouTube where I was talking about like, oh yeah, the show's not dead, it's coming back, just give me a bit. And then eventually it came back and I released episode 1, episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and now episode 11. Reign Series 3 episode 11 is called Assault because the whole purpose of this episode is to assault the space station. Make your move on the space station. So that's really why this episode is called Assault. But before we talk about that part of the episode, let's talk about everything before, which is the first scene where everyone essentially makes their move. We open the episode with Frank and Daryl training. VFX. Lobster, Skepta, and Grapes are just monitoring them.
They've really come a long way in just a few days.
Indeed. Daryl has a much better understanding of his Imperium.
Yeah, they've been training for a couple days, so it's been 3 days since episode 10. And then even when episode 10 was going on, it was 2 days after episode 9. So it's been 5 days at least since they have been training and getting ready for the next major milestone, which is going to space or just trying to get to space somehow. Frank and Daryl have had plenty of time to practice and learn their abilities. I know 5 days is like nothing, but it's better than not doing it at all.
Everyone, let's link up. Wait, what is it, Tom?
I need to go back to my apartment.
Tom has to go back to his apartment to get something.
But I need to go back. It'll help us with what's ahead.
You had days to do this, dude.
Frank is upset with Tom because he's had like 5 days to like do whatever he needs to do. But with everything we saw Tom go through, you know, Frank is not aware that Tom is like going through hallucinations and he's traumatic and he's traumatized and yeah, Tom has to really do what he needs to do before he goes after the Reign, because he made it very clear in episode 10, I'm going to stop the Reign and then I'll figure out what happened to Ace. So he needs to do this, and thankfully his friends want to come with him.
I'll go too. Me too.
Count me in.
Same.
Guys, we need all of us together.
Tom is not expecting that. He doesn't like want to drag everyone along, but he knows that if he's gonna do this plot line, which is to try to stop the Reign, you know, Tom needs the Nomad. Tom needs the Nomad to go after the Reign. Not Tom Reigns, the Nomad.
Whatever. You guys better be there.
He'll get over it.
We'll see you all soon.
Don't be late.
We should go now. We only have a few hours before it's flooded with attention again.
Sounds good.
They all go their separate ways. It begins the beginning of the end. The next scene is Dark Daryl and the Professor form an alliance. Or I should say, a temporary alliance. Dark Daryl really got screwed up by Frank in episode 9 when he destabilized, which brought back the Professor.
I was created before you ever existed. I'm the reason why you exist.
And I love this scene where the Professor's like, because of my actions, you're alive. Because I did what I did, you're here. So, you know, you owe me.
If it wasn't for me, you probably wouldn't be here. You owe me.
I owe you.
Yes, you do.
And you should totally team up with me because I'm the reason why you exist. And I love that, like, blind confidence. Because to an extent, the professor is correct. You know, the professor caused the mayhem in Daryl's life, which gave Daryl a lot of anger because he wasn't in control and doesn't remember what happened. And because of all that frustration, it manifested into what Dark Daryl is today.
You're crazy!
Yes or no?
Deal, but I'm not doing this for you.
Likewise.
In that moment, Dark Daryl doesn't acknowledge that the professor is right, but he does join him because the professor is pretty much spot on.
I sense something.
Because they join, they're able to sense Daryl, because Daryl is a part of the professor. Daryl's a part of Dark Daryl. They're all connected to the singular Imperium, Fulgar. The professor wants to take out Ted because Ted is the warthog that scarred him, but he also wants to take out Frank because Frank is that second warthog. All stuff that happened in series 2. Dark Daryl he's a twisted son of a bitch, but Dark Daryl, I think, is a honorable person. Like, he does what he means. The professor lies all the time, and as we see later on in the episode, he wasn't being serious about the truth. But yeah, in this scene we have two villains join forces for the greater cause of taking out Frank and Ted.
You sure there's anything working in here? Place looks demolished.
If it's the professor we're talking about, anything is possible.
In the next scene, we have Daryl, Frank, Skept, and Grapes going after something in the university. So in series 2, the professor had a laboratory full of like warthogs, falcons, tanks, weapons, and he also had other things in there. And the professor was just able to get his hands on so much stuff. So he must have something they can use to get into space. They don't know what it is yet, but he probably has something. And because Dark Daryl and the professor joined together and strengthened their senses to sense Daryl, that also strengthened Daryl's senses, because now there's one less entity for Fulgar to prioritize. And because of that, Daryl is now able to sense possessions of the professor within the university.
Do you feel anything?
Kind of.
I think what's interesting is that he was never able to do any of this when he was all together as one singular person before the professor and Dark Daryl became a thing in series 3. That was because we had 3 different elements, 3 different people in the same body, but now that they've separated and they become separate on their own, and they obviously consciously combine into one being, but they're still separate within one person for like Dark Daryl and the professor. Because of that separation, I think it pretty much untangled the mess that was Fulgar, and that's why Daryl now is able to do things differently, when before, as a singular person, everyone was connected and everyone was entangled.
Come on, this way.
Yeah, he senses something, he goes to find it, and everyone follows him.
I thought I buried my past and walked away, but it's always been with me. If we are going to stop this rain, I'll need to be ready.
The next scene is pretty awesome. So essentially it's Tom's hidden Nomad lair.
I've never shown anybody this room. Not even Chloe knew about it.
What the hell is this?
There's a lot you guys don't know about me.
Tom left the UNSC, but he never left the UNSC. Underneath Tom's apartment, there's a secret passage, and it wasn't really revealed in the episode because I don't really know how to do like hidden doors VFX. I know how to do like elements and stuff, but I don't really know how to do like that extra level of VFX. So it's not shown on camera, but essentially the portrait of him and Ace lifts up, and that reveals the hidden passage. We just hear the sound effects of it.
To be honest,
I'm getting some John Wick vibes.
He has a hidden like section underneath his apartment where he essentially has his old life, you know? He has a bunch of guns from the UNSC. His old armor's down there. He does like shooting practice down there. It's really just a strong form of therapy for Tom. You know, just kind of getting out his emotions through that element that he has downstairs where he can shoot at a gun range, analyze his past, polish his armor, make modifications. Obviously there's like soundproof walls so like no one hears like gunfire going off. And Tom doesn't have like rocket launchers or anything, but he has like standard rifles and machine guns. And yeah, he obviously brought stuff with him from the UNSC. And because Tom had such a caliber, such a title in the UNSC, I don't think they really cared that he like took stuff.
This is so fucking cool.
Tom has prioritized, I want to stop the rain. Like, that is my goal right now. I need to be prepared, especially since we're going up against like characters that have supernatural elements, especially lightning. That's a little terrifying. Ice is also terrifying, but you know, getting electrocuted is terrifying. So he needs to go into this at his strongest, at his highest, and that is the Nomad.
Scan complete. Voice recognition. Password.
The Nomad.
Authorized. Welcome back, Tom Raines.
And I love the scene where he has like this voice recognition on this door. Scan complete, voice recognition required. And he says, the Nomad. Welcome back, Tom Raines.
Who's the Nomad?
Him, obviously.
Well, yeah, but God, I have so many questions.
And everyone's like, who the hell is the Nomad? So Tom hasn't explained to his friends who the Nomad was. He told Nikki and Aaron that he used to be in the UNSC, but he never elaborated on like, you know, his rank and like what was his name. So for him to reveal that he was what's called the Nomad, again, it just goes back to episode 2 where Tom was called that by Ace and by everyone in the UNSC, and Tom adopted that title even though at first he wasn't really like for it, didn't really care about the nickname, but he's adopted it. It's become a part of him. And I just love how he like reveals this deep part of his past to just, you know, not only like Aaron and Ted and Nikki, who are his really close friends, but like Ava. And like, I wouldn't even say Tom has like a relationship with Ava or even Jennifer, right? So he reveals that to everyone. And I think it just shows like how comfortable Tom is to like not hide anymore. He's not hiding this from people. He's literally revealing everything. He has nothing to hide anymore because episode 10 really allowed Tom to kind of move on to some extent, where he was able to move past Chloe's death, move past Ace's death, and just get back to a mission-focused person. He's able to bring the Nomad part of his past into the present to help him address the major plotline of the whole show, which is to stop the rain. Leal's the reason for why it's raining. Tom has to be at his best to take on Leal, to take on Dark Daryl, to take on the Professor. So he re-embodies the persona of the Nomad.
Jennifer.
What's this?
The recording from my security camera. You'll see everything you need to.
Thank you.
And we also have a really nice scene where Jennifer is able to confront the reality that Chloe had deep psychological problems, Chloe was not well, and this proof of Chloe killing herself in front of Tom, making Tom a victim.
I'm gonna save myself and you, Tom. I'm saving you from me.
Chloe! No!
Jennifer is finally able to see like, okay, Tom was telling the truth. Tom is not a bad person.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too.
Tom was just in a bad position and Chloe made her choice. And that's really good for her to accept that. And it's great for Tom to show like, I am innocent. So that's a really powerful scene.
Damn it, Chloe. Why did you fucking do that?
I think it also just goes to show like Jennifer was not responsible. You know, no matter what Jennifer did, this is just something Chloe ended up doing anyway. So I think it really lets Jennifer move on, even though she pretty much did that last episode at the cemetery. But this is just another thing to be like, okay, it wasn't my fault. It wasn't Tom's fault. I wish Chloe didn't do that, but it is what it is.
Let's stop this fucking rain.
Everyone suits up and they head to the university.
I knew it was still intact.
The professor may be an asshole, but he knows how to make shit last.
Got it.
Daryl, Frank, Grapes, and Skept, and Lobster, I totally forgot to mention Lobster, they make it to the university, they unlock the door. Daryl's able to unlock the door because in previous episodes, in episode 6, Daryl wasn't really able to unlock anything in the laboratory, not even the opening. But now he is more of himself, he's more comfortable with the ability, he's not as terrified anymore of Fulgar at all. So he's able to open up this hidden door that survived the blast, and it's revealed that the professor had Sabre spaceships.
Holy shit!
The professor just was able to get so much stuff. He got like so much stuff in series 2. It's not surprising that he was able to get this in series 3. But it was always there. It was always there. Thankfully, MCC lets you add sabers into custom games and Forge, so that was obviously great for me. You know, the professor is just a guy that can get stuff done. He's a guy that can get things, and it just makes sense for his character that he would, of course, have something like this sitting there.
You guys think we can use these to get up into space?
They find out that they're there, but they haven't been activated in such a long time that they've pretty much like run out of power. So they have to figure out a way on how to turn these things on. Before they can like try to figure that out, the professor and Dark Daryl arrive. They take out a bunch of the guards that are guarding the destruction of the university, because that's obviously still like a crime scene.
What was that?
Must be them.
They take him out, and then Frank and Daryl have to fight the professor, who also has Dark Daryl inside of him, but they only see the professor, so they finally face off. Well, Skep, Lobster, and Grapes try to figure out how to turn on these devices, these ships. We now have the Professor and Dark Daryl, but mainly the Professor, versus Frank and Daryl. And this is the beginning of the end of the episode, where a lot of visual effects come into play. So in past episodes, mainly episode 7, I had a lot of moments where I would do visual effects. And what I mean by visual effects, I'm referring to lightning effects, fire effects, ice effects, blood effects, and then anything else like smoke, dust, whatever, right? So these moments in the show take so long because, you know, Frank will like run with like fire around his fist, and I have to track that fire frame by frame to his fist, because if I don't, he'll run off screen, but the fire will stay on the screen, right? So I have to track the fire. When the professor shoots lightning, it moves, it bends, it goes up, it goes down, it gets big, it gets small. I gotta track, I gotta mask that. If something gets shot behind a character, I have to mask around the character so it looks like it's going behind the character. So these type of scenes just take so much longer. The reason why I was able to get episode like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out so fast was because all that was just dialogue, talking, talking. But once fight scenes get involved, once visual effects get involved, you know, when Dark Daryl fights, the Professor fights, Leal fights, Frank fights, it slows down the edit so much because I have to do so much editing. Yeah, these upcoming visual effects, I love that I didn't cut anything out, because in episode 7, I was actually doing a lot of weddings at the time, and it took me like 4 months to finish episode 7 in between doing all these weddings, and I got so sick and tired of editing like the same scene in episode 7 for such an extended period of time that I actually removed moments of the episode that I edited, because I just got so tired of just doing visual effects for hours and hours and hours. And when I watch back that episode, I actually regret removing so many action pieces, because like episode 7 will play as if there's going to be more action, and then it just kind of abruptly ends, and I really didn't want to repeat that. So for episode 8, episode 9, every fight scene that had like visual effects, even if it took me such a long time to get through, I didn't remove anything, because I knew if I watched it back, I would regret that I removed stuff because I regretted doing that for episode 7. So with episode 11, man, there's so many moments in episode 11 towards the end where there's just so many visual effects, and I didn't remove anything. All the fighting, all that stuff was in the scripts. Nothing was changed, nothing was removed, everything was as is, and I love that. So now I can watch episode 11 and just know that I did everything I did. I didn't cut anything, and I love that. It took forever. I remember one day I was editing for 12 hours, and I did like a couple seconds of like fighting, and it was, yeah, it took so long. Episode 11 was the first episode where I had to stop editing because I got a headache from editing too much. I've never had that happen before, where like my eyes started flaring up because I think I was just looking at my computer monitor for like hours and like days on end. I did 14 days of editing, but I did 9 consecutive days straight of editing episode 11. And most of that was the visual effects that appear at the end of the episode. By day 5, I actually had to stop and end early because I was just getting a massive like migraine from just editing for such a long time. And like I was eating food, I was hydrating, I was doing everything I did, but I just got a massive headache, and that's never happened to me before. And that makes me terrified for episode 12, because episode 12 has a lot of visual effects in the script. So yeah, the Professor versus Frank and Daryl, and I just love how there's just so much going on. There's so much fighting. We have Daryl versus the Professor. We have Frank fighting the Professor. It's just super chaotic. I love the music that plays in this scene, and we really get to see like these characters that have these supernatural abilities go at it, and it's awesome.
What the hell happened?
It was them.
We go back to Tom and everyone else outside who noticed that, yeah, all these officers are knocked out, and obviously it must have been the Professor and Dark Daryl.
You guys should stay here.
No way we're missing out on this.
And they all run inside, and before that happens, Tom pretty much begs, like, hey, like, Ava, Nikki, Jennifer, please, like, stay here. Like, you are not ready for this. And they're like, no, we're together. We're in this together.
One for each of you.
I don't care that I don't have military experience. Like, I'm like, we're in this. So Tom gives them pistols, and they all run inside. Tom's in like Nomad mode, and he's like, these are civilians. It's like me and a bunch of civilians fighting supernatural beings, you know? So it's just very, very, very interesting. The Professor, Frank, and Daryl are fighting, and then the Professor notices Ted.
Ted?
Oh, fuck!
And he tries to go after him, but then Dark Daryl stops him. We need to take out Frank. You said we would take out Frank. Stop going after these other people that don't matter. We need to focus on Frank. So,
focus on Frank! We have an agreement!
Dark Daryl's entire existence is because Daryl got upset with how Frank treated him over the course of like 2-ish years. And all that anger built up and manifested into what is now Dark Daryl. So Dark Daryl's like main target is to take out Frank because that's his embodiment of all of his anger. All of his anger comes from how Frank treated Daryl. Dark Daryl's #1 enemy forever, it will be Frank. So when the Professor starts going after Ted instead of Frank, Dark Daryl freaks out and halts the Professor. But then we find out, lo and behold, the Professor was lying the entire time, because of course he was.
What are you doing?
He doesn't care about anyone. He's like this manipulator. So yeah, he betrays Dark Daryl, which takes Dark Daryl kind of by surprise, because again, Dark Daryl is very honest. Like, he does what he means. If he tries to kill Frank, even if he fails, he's gonna try his best to actually kill Frank.
And you believed me? You fool! Idiot!
When the Professor betrays Dark Daryl, it catches him off guard, and this is like the first time where Dark Daryl kind of gets like slapped around. You know, episode 6, he was like insanely like hardcore, 7 hardcore, 8 hardcore, 9 hardcore. This is the first time where he's taken advantage of in episode 11. This is the first time where he gets his ass kicked. And now that there's one less like entity, it makes the Professor stronger, but on the flip side, it makes Daryl stronger. You know, the Professor is now like, okay, I'm back in business. I'm gonna, you know, take you all out because I don't care. I don't care about anyone. Obviously, I'm gonna go after Frank and Ted first, but like everyone is my enemy. To that extent, I think the Professor is a little more. Not that like Dark Daryl is not as smart as the Professor, but the Professor is able to, you know, identify multiple targets while Dark Daryl only sees Frank as the true enemy, and anyone that stands in his way to get to Frank is an enemy, but he always ventures back to Frank. The Professor is able to identify like Ted is my sworn enemy, same with Frank, but I'm also willing to take out other people anyway, you know? It's not because they're in my way, I just, you know, why not? Like, I'll go after them too. So they're a little different with how they go about their goals.
Hey, fuckface!
What are you doing?
Standing up for my girl.
Your girl?
Huh?
In the previous episode, Ted wasn't really sure what he wanted to do with Ava.
Yeah, Aaron, I want to date your sister.
In the heat of the moment, the blood's pumping, the adrenaline's getting there. Ted's like, you know what? Fuck it, Aaron. I want to date your sister. Like, just says it in front of Aaron in the heat of the moment. I want to date your sister. And Aaron just doesn't really know what to think of that. And then Ava's really impressed. She's really surprised and like, wow, like that's kind of, damn, Ted, like that's awesome. Like that's kind of hot. She doesn't say that, but she's like, wow, I'm kind of turned on right now. That's a really powerful moment for Ted because he's been so scared and just to himself. And if we watch him in series 2 trying to get a girl, like he's so weak on screen. So for him to just stand up to his oppressor, the Professor, and declare in front of everybody, not just in front of the Professor, in front of Aaron, in front of Tom, in front of just everybody, I want to date your sister. Like massive, massive character moment for Ted. And I just love how he just doesn't give a shit when he says it. Like, I'm doing this.
Now we're back in business.
And of course the Professor just laughs in his face and he's like, all right, you know, she's your girl. Oh, she's your girl? Boom! Shoots lightning at Ted to kill him because that's what he wants to do. And then Aaron's able to last minute save Ted before he gets fucking electrocuted.
Die, Warthog Ted! Be careful, dumbass!
And there's a scene where the Professor shoots out lightning, and it does a really cool effect where as the camera flies back, I'm able to make the lightning like extend and move. So as the camera is like dollying back really fast, it looks like the lightning is like traveling as the camera is going back. It's such a cool effect. And again, that just plays around with size and like, I did like a 3D effect and it was just a lot of editing and keyframing, and it's just really cool that it looks like that.
Nice try, Tom. Nice try!
They keep fighting.
Daryl, go see if you can help the others. I think the further you're away from the Professor, the easier you can control your lightning.
Daryl is still like getting better at his Imperium and he's able to control it better. He's still having some problems because the Imperium doesn't know which host is really the one to pick. So there's still problems there. And maybe Daryl will have a better time helping the others trying to figure out how to turn on the ships if he's away from the Professor, so he can focus his power on maybe using it for like a greater cause for the Sabre spaceships. And then this is where we get this awesome moment where Frank activates his Imperium, and in episode 8, he awakened an ability which is plasma. So typically he has blue fire, and that's really hot fire. And now the next level above blue fire is plasma. So his fire turns white. Again, it's just another powerful power scaling he's doing. He's going to the next level of power.
What?
Fuck is this?
He's able to put fire shields on Tom, Aaron, and Ted. And this is really important because this is where the professor is able to hit Tom with an electrical attack. And because of that fire shield, Tom survives. If it was not for the fire shield, despite how powerful Tom is, how smart he is, how powerful the Nomad is as a character, if it wasn't for that fire shield, Tom would be fucking dead. Like, dead. Like, you're getting electrocuted with lightning, really hot lightning. Yeah, you're dead.
You goddamn cheaters!
And then the professor's like, oh my god, like this is so bullshit, even though it's not bullshit, but to him, anyone that goes against him is you know, not worthy of anything. So he rips off the shield from Ted and Aaron, and now it's like, okay, you're all vulnerable again. So that was a cool scene to film. I was a bit worried. Honestly, I thought out of all the things I had in episode 11, I was like, okay, if I'm gonna cut one thing, it's gonna be this scene, because how the fuck am I gonna do this? But thankfully, I was able to figure it out. So that wasn't too hard.
How's it looking?
We've got them on, but their power is low.
We need to recharge them.
How do we turn on these ships? And then Daryl looks down at his hands.
Let me try.
Realizing I have electrical abilities. Maybe I can use my electricity to, like, I don't know, jumpstart these ships. Let me give it a shot. So again, it just goes back to Daryl is finally a character. He's finally able to take control of the situation. He's standing up for himself. He's coming up with the solutions. He's becoming a leader. And that's really important for his character, because before he was kind of just a nobody, very cowering, very small. But now he's becoming someone he's always wanted to be.
So much energy! You've improved since last time.
Frank keeps going after the professor. The professor is a very powerful character. The professor is literally an element, which is lightning, and he's just so chaotic and just, he's really powerful.
But it's not enough!
He's able to overpower Frank because, again, you know, Frank is someone that has supernatural abilities. The professor literally is a supernatural ability, so the power scaling is just really different, you know? So the professor is able to overpower Frank in that moment.
He's not after you guys. He's after me. I'll create a diversion.
Ted!
And then Ted's like, you know what? He actually wants to kill me. He doesn't want you guys. I'm going to just make myself available because I don't want my friends to die. Like,
hey, Professor!
In that moment, he's not even thinking about Ava. Like, Ted wants to save his friends. Like, he feels like he has a responsibility as someone to change a segment in this fight.
So, you've chosen death.
He makes himself available. Obviously, the professor's like, oh, wow, like, let me focus on Ted.
Aaron! Ted!
The Nomad, Tom, is able to implement his nomadic strategy. And he throws his assault rifle to Aaron, throws a grenade to Ted because obviously he has military equipment. And before the professor can engage with them...
What the?
Focus on me, asshole!
Frank once again gets back up and he's able to hold down the professor with this like fire chain effect where he's literally like shooting out plasma and he's literally holding the professor down like he has like a cage on him, and he's holding him down, and then the professor is unable to move.
Mark!
Tom is able to implement a strategy where he shoots at the professor with his DMR. Aaron unloads with his assault rifle, creating that instability, going back to the theme of like the professor turned back into Daryl in Series 2 because a massive force, the Falcon, landed on him. Dark Daryl became a thing because Frank kept doing excessive force onto Daryl during training. The Professor came back because Frank did excessive force on Dark Daryl when he unlocked Plasma for his Imperium. And now once again, Tom and Aaron, and now with the grenade from Ted, they all team up, they do excessive force because once again, excessive force triggers a reaction. And because of this excessive force, they're able to subdue the Professor.
Now, Ted!
But once again, we have Dark Daryl, we have the Professor. There's not a fourth alternate personality. It stops at 3. There's no more after that. This stability adjustment just makes it easier for Tom and everyone else to get away as the Professor is like destabilizing because he's now not knocked out, but he's like frozen and all glitching out and stuff. Daryl uses his ability. He activates the Sabre spaceships. They all turn back on.
Frank, we need to go. He's almost down. I can do this. We have to leave. Fuck. All right, damn it.
Frank wants to finish the job, but Tom's like, we have to get the fuck out of here. We got to get the fuck out of here. Like, because the Professor can just get back up as he always gets back up, but they need to get the fuck out of here.
I can't let you get away!
Tom convinces Frank to abandon ship, and then before they get to the Sabres, Frank is able to create a fire shield to hopefully slow down the Professor and Dark Daryl if they decide to get back up.
Do you guys know how to fly these?
I'm remembering what Leal showed me.
Yes, I can manage.
Wait, are we actually gonna fly these? Yo, this is insane. Oh my god, are there barf bags? Just hold it in, Jen.
Tom, punch it!
All right, let's go.
The Sabre spaceships activate and they are well on their way to the space station.
You will not escape my wrath!
The Professor gets up and he flashes away because he's not done with them yet. The Sabre spaceships take off, they crash into Dark Daryl, setting him flying, and they fly up.
Holy shit! Oh!
This scene was so much fun to do because I try not to show too many campaign moments because I do feel like you are limited to what the campaign offers in Halo Reach, but one great feature about Halo Reach is that you can put your Spartan in the cutscenes, and I knew that when they were going up into space, I was going to implement cutscenes from Long Night of Solace into this. So I tried filming it and capturing it in a way to where we wouldn't see George, because he's obviously there at the cutscene. So I zoomed in really far when Noble 6 is going up into space in the Sabre, and obviously with Reach, you can customize your Spartan, so it's like cut, 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 cut. We see all these characters within the Sabre spaceship. There's 3 Sabre spaceships. Yeah, Skept, Grapes, Lobster, Richard, Aaron, Ted, Ava, Jennifer, Nikki, Frank, Daryl, and Tom. And we just kind of separate those group of characters into 3 ships. So they fly up. They're now on their way to the space station. So it's mentioned briefly that the aliens know a little bit about them because in Series 2, Leal took Grapes out for a stroll in a Sabre spaceship. Richard knows a little bit about them because he knows Leal. And, you know, Tom is someone that's flown multiple things, so he's never flown a Sabre, but he kind of uses his knowledge to, you know, figure out how to fly this thing. So because of that, they're all able to pilot a Sabre. So Tom pilots one, Grapes / Skep pilot one, then Richard's able to pilot one, and then they all fly up into space.
It's been a week.
Azit.
We now cut to a scene with Leal and Mort, and this is a revision scene as well, where Mort is just thankful that he's still alive because this is 3 days after the Sabre funeral and 5 days after he tried to kill himself. So it's been a week. It's been pretty much a week.
I'm sorry for my state of mind.
You don't need to apologize for being human. No issue is more important than making sure you and our team are okay.
A lot's happened in that amount of time. And even though he's still very early in the process of grieving and dealing with this new life that he has created for himself, he is thankful to be alive, even though he literally tried to kill himself days prior. And Leal's just happy that he's still there and is doing everything he can to wish Mort well.
Once this is all over, once we stop them from trying to stop us, what's next? What's the next distraction?
And then we get this really cool scene where after we, figure out what we need to figure out, what's the next distraction? Like how do I keep doing this?
Believe it or not, a time will come where you no longer need them.
Really? When?
When you no longer ask the question.
And Leal gives some really good advice. He says, one day a time will come where you no longer need distractions because you'll no longer think about them. And I kind of relate that to like losing my parents. It's like, in the moment, like when it happens, it's obviously very raw in your mind. A month goes by, it's still pretty raw. A couple more months go by, it's still pretty raw. 1 year goes by, it's still very raw. It took me around 2.5 to 3 years to really kind of move on, and I don't mean moving on because I'll never be able to move on from that. It just gets easier to live with what's happened and you don't really notice it. Like the moment you don't realize it is when it's happened because it happens gradually. Obviously Mort's at the very early stages of grieving, but one day he will be able to live with it a little bit easier. And, when you're in the shit, you're in that headspace, it feels like you'll never get out of it. But eventually you're able to get out of it. You never get over it, but you're just able to live with it a little bit easier. And that's really it.
How long did it take you when your parents passed away? Leal, your body.
Mort's taken back by those words, and before he can clarify more with Leal, Leal's body starts to glow again. And the last time that happened was at the cemetery, but Leal's felt the pull before because there's a certain character within that group that's making Frigus curious. And now that it's glowing, it makes Leal and Mort go, oh my god, like holy shit, like they're here.
There it is, dead ahead.
That's the source of the rain?
Yes.
So we cut back to the Sabre spaceships and they see where the space station is. And one thing that no one realized was, they thought they had to get into the Sabre spaceships. They would get into space, and then they would just land in the hangar, and they'd go after Leal.
They came!
How did they get their own ships? Leal, what do we do?
We watch them fall. They're in my world.
Completely forgot. Oh, wait. Leal has the Ice Imperium. Oh, wait. Space is, really cold. This is, the worst spot they could go, because this is literally Leal's domain.
Shit, I totally forgot. Officer, we're in space. It's cold like ice. This is Leal's domain and we flew right into it.
Oh, we can't die here! We've come too far!
Leal's able to freeze the ships with ease. And yeah, we get this funny scene where everyone's shaking in the ship and the ship is shaking and everyone's freaking the fuck out. Ironically, the professor is the one that saves everybody because, again, the professor is like, no, I am not going to let Leal have the satisfaction of taking out these guys because I'm going to take out these guys.
Oh no! They're mine!
And because you're trying to take out my enemies, I'm going to fuck you up.
Not yours!
Again, the Professor is lightning. He's an element. He's not really a person, so he can survive in the vacuum of space. He flashes in, and again, he's literally lightning. So he turns into lightning, and he strikes Leal, which knocks him out in that moment.
No, it must have been the Professor.
He followed us here?
Who cares? Let's dock while we can.
The aliens and Tom and everyone else in the Sabre spaceships, they're able to use that moment to land as soon as possible, and their ships unthaw because Leal is being taken care of. He's preoccupied, so he can't freeze them because he's fighting the Professor. Everyone's able to land, everyone's able to like get on the space station, and once again, just like reference in episode 9 where Richard's like, if we can get up into space, I can show you guys around because I've been to the space station, I know my way around, we just have to figure out how to get up there. But once we get up there, I will guide the way. Well, now they're up in space, and Tom looks at Richard and says, Richard,
lead the way.
Lead the way. And we cut. That was Reign Series 3, Episode 11, Assault. We are in the beginning stages of the finale for Series 3. The fact that we've gotten to this point, the fact that I'm talking about it is honestly crazy. And I'm so happy we're finally at end game level stuff for the show. You know, I've had these thoughts in my head for so many years. So to finally be in a position where now, you know, not only do I know what's happening, obviously, but everyone watches the show is all caught up. Like, we're all spoiler free, pretty much. So the next episode is episode 12. Episode 12 is going to be crazy. Not to give away too many spoilers, but episode 11 had a lot of visual effects. Episode 12 is probably going to be way more visual effect heavy. So I'm going to have so much fun editing that. Just kidding. That was Reign Series 3, Episode 11, Assault. That was the video documentary for Episode 11, Assault. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more videos on JKP Rising for Reign Series 3, more ViDocs, more episodes. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see everyone in the next video.